Hello and welcome to the Book Bunch. My name is Sam. It is so great to have you guys here for another video. Today I'm giving you book recommendations for books, specifically fantasy, that have creatures in it that are more than just human. So whether it be dragons or weird like cows or something otherworldly, whatever it might be, this stack of books has that for you. The reason we are doing this today is this is specifically for one of my subscribers, Mario. He reached out to me after I did the review on Black Leviathan and he said he absolutely loved that book based on my recommendations. So I thought I would try and find some others that are decent, if not great reads. I'd also like to ask you if you could please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please check your subscription if you believe you have subscribed in the past, because something is going up with my YouTube and a bunch of my regulars are being unsubscribed by the algorithm. So please check that if you can, and we'll get right into the video. First book, Mortal Sight. This is a Christian fantasy by Sandra. She is an amazing author and one of the Enclave authors. There's a couple in here that are Enclave because if you like good Christian fantasy or good Christian sci-fi that has a good level of faith in it, Enclave is definitely the way to go in my opinion. So I picked up Mortal Sight. This book was crazy. Definitely a 5 out of 5 stars. If you like Frank Peretti at all, I feel like you'd really like this because it's a similar vein, and I'll explain why. So Mortal Sight follows this girl named Siri, and it is like the week before or 2 weeks before her 17th birthday when we start this story. And she has grown up with what she believes to be these panic attacks that she gets every year around her birthday, and they're so bad that for whatever reason her mum feels that they need to move town every time one of these comes up. And it is about to be her birthday and she knows she's about to have to leave again, but she really doesn't want to leave this time. She likes the town that they're in, and she's made friends with the little girl next door who she is 7 or 8, I believe, and they become fast friends, and she walks her to school and everything. She's also got family troubles, and it's like this super sweet relationship. And I'm gonna forewarn you, it's right at the beginning, so it's not much of a spoiler, but don't get attached. Okay, because if you do, it'll rip your heart out like it did for me, so just don't get attached. But basically we follow, this girl named Siri, and she kind of puts her foot down with her mum and is like, I am not leaving this time, and the mum is like, no, we have to leave. And she has one of her attacks and everything. She ends up finding out that her mum has been drawing what her attacks look like in her head. So she has these really strong physical and mental attacks where basically she gets severe pain that comes in all these different waves, and so she can kind of predict what part of the attack she's up to. And she gets these weird disjointed almost visions or dream type thoughts. And she finds out that her mom has been drawing each of these visions that she's been getting every time she has an attack, and it's tied to all this other stuff. I'm gonna leave it there because I don't want to spoil it, but there is otherworldly creatures in it, and it is very fast paced and a little bit scary. It's a very cool take on the spiritual realm, and I really do like it. I definitely recommend this as a 5 out of 5. I hope I explained that well, because it was a really good book and it shook me real hard, and I can't wait to get the second book. That's Mortal Sight. We then have Wildwood, which I thought was alright. I didn't think it was as good as I thought it would be, and maybe that's just because it was quite hyped up. But I read Wildwood and everyone told me it was Narnia-esque, so I I was looking at it through that lens. Sorry about all the cars going past. But I feel like it wasn't Narnia-esque at all. So maybe that's why I don't love it as much as I could have. But this follows a girl whose brother gets kidnapped. Her baby brother, so like the brother is like 17 months old or something. And she is 12, I want to say. And yeah, her baby brother gets kidnapped by a flock of crows. And she sees her baby brother get taken into this wood, which they call the Impassable Wilderness. And it's like in some forest that's in the middle of Portland in Oregon. And she's been told like you cannot go in there kind of thing, but she obviously is like, no, I need to go save my brother. So she goes on this mission to go find her baby brother and bring him home. And one of the boys from her class at school follows her through the wood, and they get separated and all this stuff happens. And I really did like the charm of this book because there was lots of like woodland creatures and even things that aren't necessarily woodland, like coyotes, and it was quite cool to see their little societies. But it's got some weird things in there, like there's a conflict, I guess you'd say it's a conflict with that she has with her parents, and she finds out some truths about her and her family, and the way the parents react and like their solution to the problem at hand is terrible. Like they are terrible parents, absolutely terrible parents. And I do not understand where they come from. As a parent myself, I do not understand their point of view at all. So I didn't like that bit. But for the most part, it was pretty decent. I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I'll pick up the other ones in the series because I know it's a series. And it didn't really end on a cliffhanger or anything, so you could definitely read it as a standalone. I think if you're a bit younger, you might enjoy this one, whereas like Mortal Sight is definitely for like a young adult kind of level. But yeah, Wildwood is definitely like teenagers and maybe even like middle grade kind of thing. But yeah, that's Wildwood. Then we have the other Enclave book, which is Wolf Soldier. This one, I don't know whether I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5, but it's really good. I really liked it. So Wolf Soldier is about this boy, and his name is Connor, and he's like a teenager, and he's living his best shepherd boy life, and he gets attacked by goblins, and his family gets attacked by goblins like right at the beginning, like straight up. And he finds out that he has been asked to go join this academy called the Light Raider Academy, which are these elite knights that have this very spiritual connection with God and everything, because again this one's a Christian fiction, and it's not like overtly God, but it's like the maker, and like they have other names for him and stuff like that. Like the blacksmith, which I love that name, but anyway, it's cool. And they call him the rescuer a lot as well. So they are these special knights that a lot of their power doesn't come from like physical things, but comes from the spiritual. So like they can unlock doors through like saying special words and stuff, which are like these elvish kind of prayers to God. And they have the armor of God, which is like this invisible armor that only shows up like when they need it in battle, and they have to have the faith for it to work, and like different things like that. It's quite cool. I really did like it. I liked the faith elements in this one, but you definitely need to go in knowing that it's heavy on the faith stuff. But yeah, we follow Connor, and he gets attacked by goblins, and he ends up having to join this big battle. I guess you'd say, against this dragon and all these orcs and other things. And it's very much about his friendship and putting his faith in God and trusting in God's plan and all of that rather than like his own desires. I really, really, yeah, I really liked it, and I don't know of anything else quite like this. It's almost Dungeons and Dragonsy smashed with the Bible. It's kind of cool. Um, but yeah, it's very awesome. It is based off a video game, which I thought was really cool, and there's like a whole like section in the front that talks about this, like in the foreword, about like this game that it's based off and things. But yeah, it's very cool. I can't wait to pick up the second one, which gets released in February of next year. So I'm super excited, and that is The Wolf Soldier. I also read Zakora, which is I don't know if it's technically a middle grade or if it would be classed a young adult, but this is about some kids that they have to go on this like rescue mission to save their little sister because their parents aren't in the picture anymore. There's been some tragedy in their lives, and their little sister gets kidnapped. So like in the past, this like tragedy happened with their parents, and then in current day, their little sister is just being kidnapped, and so they have to go on this adventure to basically find their little sister. And they end up picking up this princess who doesn't want to be a princess along the way. And I did find it slightly predictable, but I don't know if that's just because this was very similar to the Wing Feather Saga if the Wing Feather Saga wasn't faith-based. There's just like some very key similarities story-wise. And I don't think anyone ripped off anybody else or anything like that, but I think it's that whole like if you use the journey cycle, then everyone's stories are going to have similar elements. It's that kind of thing. And so there was just some things that I was able to predict that were meant to be twists and turns and everything, but they weren't really that surprising to me. So I think that let it down for me a little bit. But I do definitely think if you are of the younger audience, or you have like younger kids, well, not younger kids, but like if you have kids that are like teenage years, they'll probably really like this. There is like dragons and other creatures in the book, some cool elves, which I kind of liked, and this cute little like lizardy thing that's towards the end. But yeah, just be aware that it is for a bit of a younger audience. Apart from that though, it was pretty decent, so I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. I also read 1 for Sorrow, 2 for Joy. I have mixed feelings about this book, so I don't know that I'd even want to necessarily rate it. This is a 2-in-1, so it's like 2 novellas basically put in the one cover. I only read the first novella because I just wasn't that keen to read on. But I still would recommend it because I feel like it might be up some people's alley. But I will preface this with warning to say there is some like graphic and heavy topics that are talked about in here, like rape and different things. And I don't know if it's considered to be played down or not because it's via other creatures, because this whole book is about birds. So I don't know how it might make you feel if there's different traumas and things you've gone through, but there's a lot of brutal murders and there is some sexual abuse and stuff in there. So just be aware of that. But it's also all through the eyes of birds, so I don't know if that will be a trigger or not. I know that's weird, but I hope I'm explaining that right. So this story follows this little bird, and he is kind of tasked with this like mission to unite all of the birds that aren't of the magpie crow family, because all the magpies and the crows have multiplied and have decided that they're going to take down all the other bird species, starting with the small birds. So they're basically causing genocide amongst bird kind. And some of the owls and some of the other birds are not okay with this, as you wouldn't be if you weren't one of the ones that were being saved. But yeah, they come up with this plan to basically take down the magpies and the crows. And you follow this little bird on his journey to do so, and yeah, all the trials and tribulations along the way. So that's what it's about. But yeah, it's got some heavy topics in it as well, and I was shocked like that it was included in there. And I totally see why this was not turned into a Disney movie, because the author back in 2004, the rights were bought by Disney to be made into an animated film, and they decided not to go through with it. And I think that's probably why, just because there's some really heavy topics in there. So I don't even know what, like, who this is for. Like, I'd probably say it's for adults because there's like adult content, but at the same time the story felt more like, apart from those adult bits in there, it felt like it was meant to be for like maybe young adult or like 16-year-olds kind of thing. I don't know. It was a weird one, but if you're interested in birds, you might like it. If you just want to see what a story all about birds is like, you might want to pick it up and like read it. But a lot of people love this book. Like, it used to be a big deal back when it was released. So I don't know. I thought I'd put it in there even though I didn't really like it, and I'm going to get rid of it just because it might be up your alley. We then have The Earth Dragons. I loved this book. This is like a young adult series, and I've already bought book 2 and 3, which will finish up the trilogy, because I loved this one so much. And I'm a little bit sad because the copy I got is a second-hand copy, and it's a little bit destroyed because whatever snotty kid owned it, like, drew all over it and like gouged their name into it and all sorts of things. But yeah, this book was really good. I do not know why this book was so, like, in the front there's all these reviews from all these kids that have read it, and it's all like 10-year-olds and stuff. I do not think that is age appropriate. Just so you know, I definitely put this in the young adult category, not the middle grade category, so just be aware of that. But I loved this series, and this series is most of the point of view is from the dragons, and then there is also a point of view in there of this boy. But he's like, you don't spend as much time in his point of view as you do in the dragon's point of view, and I loved that. Like, I loved that you were in the dragon's point of view. It was really awesome. So we follow these dragons who are not native to Earth, and they like a pod of them have, well, a whirl, I should say, because that's the actual name for it. A whirl of dragons has showed up on the Earth, and they have like claimed this section of mountains. And they are the second group to show up on Earth. The first group was like wiped out, and this, like, the home world of dragons didn't know why, so they sent another group that was larger to kind of investigate and see if they can like make roots on Earth. And we follow them in that journey, and like they have arrived by the time this has started, but like we're navigating their journey in trying to establish themselves there, to investigate what happened to the other people, and also them just trying to make their home there. So like trying to have more dragon babies and like all of that kind of thing, and to protect their world from the humans because they're not very friendly with the humans. And the humans aren't that friendly because like the dragons have kind of encroached on their territory, and everybody knows how humans react when something encroaches on their territory. So yeah, and it follows these dragons and them in that kind of like aspect, but then the point of view of the boy is this boy is part of like the nearby village who was like kicked out of their home because the dragon showed up. So the people aren't all that friendly with the dragons, but they've kind of made a rule that as long as you don't cross this line, you won't get in by the dragons. And it's like an agreement that the dragons and the humans have kind of made to make peace. But the boy crosses the line and he ends up coming into possession of a baby dragon. And he is trying to warn the dragons of what happened to the other dragons because the boy knows what happened and the result of that. And he's trying to warn them, and he's trying to warn them that it's going to happen again. And yeah, it's super interesting. I feel like I've over-explained this, but I would definitely recommend this. I'd probably give it a 4.5, if not a 5 out of 5 stars. So that is The Well of Dragons. Sorry, The Earth Dragons. And then finally, we've got Eragon, which was the actual book that he asked me to review. And my copy is a secondhand copy and it's a little bit broken. So some of the pages are like sticking out funny. But yes, we've got Eragon. I have also got book 3 and 4, but I don't have book 2 yet. And I will continue reading the whole series. But just know that I didn't love it as much as I could have. I don't know if, again, I'm a bit older than the intended age range, or if it's because like this was his very first novel ever and he gets better as the series goes on in regards to just the writing. But I'm definitely going to continue, but I'd still only give Eragon a 3.5 out of 5 because it just wasn't that amazing. And I also went into it, this is probably one of the reasons why it's only 3.5, is I went into it expecting there to be a lot more dragon action and all the rest of it, but there really isn't that much. Like there's a dragon throughout the whole thing, but they're not really the focus. They're kind of just like this side character, and there's only the one. So it's not as full of dragons as I'd hoped, which I think is why part of my rating dropped, is because it is much more focused on the humans than it is on the dragons. And I know that as the series gets on, the dragons become more prominent, which is why I'm going to keep reading. I hope that makes sense. But basically, Eragon follows this boy who lives in this like rural town, and he is like off on a hunting trip by himself to get food for his family, and he encounters this like stone that kind of shows up in like a flash of bang explosion kind of thing, and he goes and he brings it home and he tries to figure out what this stone is, and he takes it to the local market and the merchants have a look at it and they don't really seem to know what it is, so he takes it back home and it ends up hatching because it's a dragon egg, and he befriends this dragon as it like is growing up. But him and this dragon have to go on the run because the king and like all of his creatures, because there's like orcs and goblins and all sorts of things in the story as well, they are hunting him down because they want the dragon to work for them and for the king, because the king that runs this world is super evil and he has his own dragon who's like the only other dragon, and he basically wiped out all of the other dragons in their like history. And yeah, he wants to create a new generation of dragons and dragon riders that are like under his control and do his bidding and are evil as well. And so this boy and his dragon go on the run to basically hunt down some of the other beings that like were responsible for some tragic stuff that happens in the book, but also to go join the other side of the fight, which is the fight against the king. And yeah, it follows that journey in the first one, and then it kind of definitely ends only part way through that journey. So I'll definitely be interested to see what book 2 holds. But yeah, that is Eragon for you. I hope I don't know, I feel like today I haven't done a very good job at explaining any of the books, but we'll see. I am better from my sickness. Finally, it took over a month for me to kind of get better, but I'm still a little bit cloudy, I guess you'd say, mentally. So that is why this review probably wasn't as good as it could have been, or past reviews have been. But yeah, if there are any books you want me to read or any videos you want me to do, please recommend them in the comments below, because I can only make the content you guys want if you let me know what content you guys want. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep making random stuff to fill in the time. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thank you for coming to spend time with me again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.